Sarah's hand froze on the produce display. 23 years dissolved in an instant. There, reaching for tomatoes 3 feet away, was the woman who'd once been her entire world. Elena. Older now, silver threading through her dark hair, but unmistakably her. Their eyes met. The grocery store noise faded. Elena's basket slipped from her fingers, oranges rolling across the floor between them like scattered pieces of a life they'd never finished living. Sarah? The name came out as a whisper, a prayer, an accusation. Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't move, could only stare at the woman she'd walked away from the day after college graduation, carrying a secret that had eaten at her soul ever since. The coffee shop 2 blocks from the grocery store had been a pizza place when they were young. Sarah sat across from Elena, her hands wrapped around a latte she hadn't touched, studying the lines time had etched around Elena's eyes. Beautiful lines, earned lines. "You look good," Elena said, and there was no bitterness in it, just observation. "You look like you've lived." Sarah almost laughed. Lived? Yes, she'd lived. Married Michael at 24 because he was kind and safe and didn't make her feel the terrifying things Elena had made her feel. Had 2 children who were now adults themselves. Got divorced at 43 when she finally admitted what she'd known at 21. She couldn't keep pretending. "You look happy," Sarah said instead, because Elena did. There was a lightness to her that hadn't been there in college, when they'd hidden their relationship behind closed dorm room doors and careful lies to friends. Elena smiled, sad and knowing. It took a while, a long while. She traced the rim of her coffee cup. "I was angry at you for years, Sarah. Devastated. You just disappeared. One day we're talking about getting an apartment together in the city, and the next you're gone. No explanation, just a note saying you couldn't do this anymore." The shame was immediate and physical. Sarah had carried it for 2 decades, but hearing it reflected back still felt like a punch. "My father found your letters, the ones I kept in my desk at home." Elena's face went pale. "Oh." "He said if I continued this phase, I'd destroy the family. My mother had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. My younger sister was applying to colleges and needed help with tuition." Sarah's voice cracked. "He said he'd cut me off completely, that I'd lose everyone. So you chose them." I was 21 and terrified. Tears burned Sarah's eyes. "I thought I was doing the noble thing, the mature thing. I thought I could make myself be who they needed me to be." Elena reached across the table, her finger stopping just short of Sarah's hand. "Did it work?" Sarah shook her head. "Not for a single day." They sat in silence, the coffee shop buzzing with strangers' conversations around them. Sarah studied Elena's face, cataloging the changes and the sameness. The same deep brown eyes that had once looked at her like she was the only person in the world. The same small scar on her chin from a childhood bicycle accident. But there was something new too. A peace that Sarah envied desperately. "Are you with someone?" Sarah asked, not sure if she wanted the answer. "I was, for 12 years. Rachel. We broke up about 8 months ago." Elena's smile was wistful. "She was wonderful. It just ran its course." Sarah nodded, processing this. Elena had loved someone else, built a life with someone else. Of course she had. What had Sarah expected? That Elena would spend 2 decades pining? "And you?" Elena asked. "You said you got divorced?" 5 years ago. I have 2 kids. Daniel's 28, teaches high school English. Maya's 26, she's a nurse." Sarah felt the familiar swell of pride mixed with guilt. She loved her children fiercely, but they were also evidence of the lie she'd lived. "They know. About me. They were actually the ones who encouraged me to finally be honest with myself. They sound like good people. They are. Better than I deserved. Elena's hand finally closed the distance, covering Sarah's. The touch sent electricity through Sarah's body, as powerful as it had been when they were 19. Don't do that. Don't diminish what you gave them. But Sarah couldn't help it. She'd stolen years from herself, from Elena, from everyone. She'd built a life on a foundation of fear and self-denial, and by the time she'd found the courage to be honest, she'd hurt so many people in the collateral damage. "Why are you back in town?" Elena asked. "You swore you'd never come back here." "My mother died last month. I'm settling her estate." Sarah stared at their joined hands. "My father died 3 years ago, heart attack. And you know what the terrible thing is? I felt relieved. I actually felt relieved that he was gone." Sarah. "He never changed his mind, never softened. When I came out after my divorce, he told me I was selfish and confused and going through a midlife crisis. He stopped speaking to me." The old wound throbbed. "My mother kept contact, but always in secret. She'd call when he wasn't home. We'd meet for lunch in the next town over. She loved my kids, but she could never fully be in their lives because of him." Elena squeezed her hand. "That must have been incredibly painful." "The worst part? I still tried to earn his love. Right until the end, I kept hoping he'd finally accept me." Sarah wiped her eyes with her free hand. "I wasted so much time on people who couldn't love me as I was." Elena's apartment was in the renovated warehouse district downtown, all exposed brick and huge windows. Sarah stood in the middle of the living room, taking in the bookshelves crammed with novels and art books, the photographs on the walls, landscapes mostly, a few portraits. There was taste here, intentionality, a life thoughtfully built. "You became a photographer," Sarah said, studying a stunning black and white print of a woman's hands cupping water. "I did, finally." Elena moved into the kitchen, pulling out a bottle of wine. "Took me 10 years of working as a graphic designer before I had the guts to go freelance, but I've been making a living at it for the past 8 years." Sarah felt the pang of roads not taken. In college, she'd been the one with artistic ambitions, talking about becoming a writer. Instead, she'd gotten a business degree at her father's insistence and spent 20 years in corporate marketing. She'd been good at it, made decent money, hated every moment. "Do you still write?" Elena asked, as if reading her mind. "No, I tell myself I will after I retire, but I probably won't." Sarah accepted the wine glass. "What about you? Are you happy? Really happy?" Elena considered this, settling onto the couch and gesturing for Sarah to join her. "Most days, yes. I have work I love, good friends, a life that feels authentic." She paused. "But there's this empty space that never quite filled. I thought Rachel would fill it. I really tried to love her the way she deserved." But? "But she wasn't you." Elena said it simply, matter-of-factly. "And I eventually realized it wasn't fair to either of us to keep pretending that didn't matter." Sarah's heart hammered. "Elena, I know I hurt you. I don't have any right to. I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty, or to suggest we can just pick up where we left off." Elena set down her wine glass. "I'm saying it because I spent too many years not saying true things. I'm done with that." They sat in charged silence. Outside, the city hummed with early evening traffic. Sarah thought about her hotel room across town, sterile and anonymous. She thought about her empty apartment back in Boston, full of furniture that had never quite felt like hers. She thought about all the years of sleeping next to Michael, a kind man she'd never been in love with, wondering if this hollow feeling was just what adult life felt like. "I think about the night before graduation constantly," Sarah said quietly. "We were in your dorm room. It was raining. You told me you loved me and wanted to build a life with me. And I said I wanted that too. I meant it, Elena, every word. I know you did. The next morning, my father called, said he'd found the letters and we needed to talk. I drove home and he was waiting in his study. He had them spread out on his desk. Our words, our private, intimate words. Sarah's voice shook. He read them out loud, Elena. He read the things we'd written to each other, and he made them sound dirty and sick. Elena's jaw tightened. I'm so sorry. He said if I chose this lifestyle, he'd tell everyone. My mother, my sister, his friends at church. He said he'd make sure I was cut off from everything. No money for grad school, no family support. He said my mother's cancer treatment was expensive, and if I was selfish enough to pursue this, I'd be killing her. That's manipulative and cruel. I believed him. I was 21 and I believed every word. Sarah's tears flowed freely now. So I wrote you that note, I packed my things, I married the first good man who showed interest, and I spent 23 years trying to convince myself it was the right choice. Elena pulled Sarah into her arms. Sarah collapsed against her, breathing in her scent. Different perfume now, but underneath it, the essential Elena-ness that had haunted Sarah's dreams for decades. They held each other as Sarah cried out years of grief and regret and loss. I looked for you, Elena whispered into Sarah's hair. For years, I'd search your name online, trying to figure out where you were, what you were doing. I never reached out because I thought you'd made your choice clear, but I never stopped wondering. Sarah pulled back enough to meet Elena's eyes. I'm so sorry for all of it, for being a coward, for wasting our time. We were so young, and you were under impossible pressure. Elena cupped Sarah's face gently. I've been angry, yes, but I've also had years to understand that life is complicated. People make impossible choices in impossible situations. Do you think... Sarah hesitated. Do you think there's any way to recover from something like that? To find a way forward? Elena's thumb traced Sarah's cheekbone. I don't know, but I'd like to try to find out. Sarah extended her stay in town. She told herself it was because the estate paperwork was complicated, but that was a lie. It was because of the way Elena laughed at her stories, because of the afternoon they spent walking through the old neighborhood, pointing out houses they'd lived in, businesses that had closed, trees that had grown tall. Because of the night they stayed up until 3 a.m. talking about books and politics and art and everything they'd missed in each other's lives. They didn't rush into anything physical beyond holding hands, quick hugs. Both of them circled around the possibility cautiously, like archaeologists afraid of damaging a fragile artifact. Tell me about your kids, Elena said one evening as they cooked dinner together in her kitchen, moving around each other in a dance that felt both new and ancient. Sarah smiled, pulling out her phone to show pictures. This is Daniel at his classroom. He teaches sophomore English, loves it even though he complains about grading papers. She swiped to the next photo. And this is Maya at her hospital. She works in the NICU, toughest job imaginable. Elena studied the photos carefully. They have your smile and your eyes. They're worried about me, Sarah admitted. Daniel especially. He thinks I've spent too much time taking care of everyone else and not enough time taking care of myself. Smart kid. He's the one who sat me down after the divorce and asked if I was gay. Sarah laughed at the memory. I'd been so careful, never mentioned it, and he just looked at me over coffee one morning and said, Mom, I need to know. Are you into women? Just like that. What did you say? I cried, and then I said yes, and he hugged me and told me it was about damn time I was honest. Sarah's voice caught. Maya overheard from the other room and came in and said she'd known since she was 12. Elena laughed. Kids always know. They've been amazing. They want me to be happy. They never blamed me for the divorce, even though I completely upended their lives. Sarah set down her phone. But they also see how scared I still am, how I'm 53 years old and still figuring out how to be myself. We're all still figuring it out. They ate dinner on the couch, Elena's cat winding between their legs. The conversation flowed easily: politics, Elena's upcoming photography exhibition, Sarah's thoughts about possibly taking early retirement, and finally writing that novel. Normal things, building a life together things. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said as Elena poured more wine. "When you were with Rachel, did you tell her about me?" "Yes, not right away, but eventually." Elena curled up in the corner of the couch facing Sarah. "She knew she wasn't my first love. I think it was hard for her knowing there was this ghost she was competing with. I'm sorry, I never wanted to haunt you. You didn't do it on purpose. First loves are like that, they leave an imprint." Elena's gaze was steady. "But Sarah, I need you to understand something. If we're going to explore this, if we're going to see if we can build something now, I can't be your act of atonement. I can't be the life you think you should have lived." The words landed hard. Sarah sat with them, testing their truth. Was that what this was? A middle-aged woman trying to reclaim her youth? Trying to fix past mistakes? "I don't know," Sarah said honestly. "I don't know if I can separate the Elena you are now from the Elena you were then. I don't know if I'm here because of genuine connection or because of guilt and nostalgia." "Okay," Elena nodded. "That's fair, that's honest. But I can tell you this." Sarah leaned forward. "When I'm with you, I feel more myself than I've felt in decades. When we talk, I'm not performing or editing or being who I think I should be. And that's not about the past. That's about right now." Elena reached out, lacing their fingers together. "I feel that too." They sat in silence, the weight of possibility hanging between them. Sarah thought about her life in Boston, her apartment, her job, her routine. All of it suddenly felt like a set she'd built for a play she no longer wanted to perform. "I'm terrified," Sarah whispered. "What if I upend everything again and it doesn't work? What if I hurt you again? What if—" Elena squeezed her hand. "What if it does work? What if we get a second chance that most people never get?" "I don't deserve it." "Maybe not, but maybe that's not the point." Elena smiled. "Maybe the point is what we do with it now." Sarah leaned in slowly, giving Elena time to pull away. But Elena didn't pull away. Their lips met softly, tentatively, a question being asked and answered. The kiss was different from their college kisses, less desperate, more knowing. But underneath it was the same spark, the same rightness. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "I can't promise this will be easy," Sarah said. "I'm a mess. I have decades of baggage." 3 months later, Sarah sat in her Boston apartment, boxes stacked around her. She'd given notice at work, put her lease up for termination, told her kids she was moving back to her hometown, to be with someone, she'd said, to finally choose herself. Daniel had cheered. Maya had cried happy tears. Both had demanded to meet Elena immediately. "Are you sure about this?" her coworker Jennifer had asked at Sarah's goodbye happy hour. "You're giving up a lot. A good job, this city, your whole life here." Sarah had smiled. "I'm not giving up my life. I'm finally starting it." Now, waiting for the movers, Sarah video called Elena. Elena's face filled the screen, paint smudged on her cheek from the bedroom she was redecorating for Sarah's arrival. "I'm nervous," Sarah admitted. "What if we get on each other's nerves? What if the reality doesn't match the fantasy?" "Then we'll figure it out, like adults," Elena grinned. "Though I should warn you, I'm a complete slob and I stay up too late reading. Oh, and I eat cereal for dinner at least twice a week. I hog the covers and I'm grumpy before coffee and I have a tendency to rearrange other people's bookshelves." "I know. I remember." Elena's expression softened. "I remember everything about you, Sarah. The real you, not some idealized version." The doorbell rang. The movers. Sarah's new life, quite literally, at the door. "I have to go," Sarah said. "But I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you and we'll start figuring this out." "I can't wait." After they hung up, Sarah sat for a moment, looking around her apartment. She'd lived here for 5 years, but it had never felt like home. It had been a transitional space, a place to figure out who she was after the divorce. And now she knew. She was Sarah, 53, flawed and scared and brave. A mother, a former wife, a woman who'd made terrible choices and hurt people and lost years to fear. But also, a woman who'd finally found her way back to herself, back to love, back to the person who'd always seen her most clearly. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "So proud of you, Mom. Go get your girl." Sarah laughed, wiping tears. She stood, opened the door for the movers, and began the work of packing up one life to make room for another. The next evening, Sarah pulled up to Elena's apartment. The warehouse district looked different in the dusk light, romantic somehow. She sat in her car for a moment, gathering courage. Elena appeared on the steps, waiting. She'd pulled her hair back, wore jeans and a soft sweater. She looked nervous too. Sarah got out of the car. They stood looking at each other across the small parking lot. "Hi," Sarah said. "Hi," Elena said back. And then they were moving toward each other, meeting in the middle. Elena's arms around Sarah's neck, Sarah's around Elena's waist. They held each other as the sun set, as the city lights began to flicker on, as the world continued spinning around them. "We're really doing this," Sarah murmured against Elena's shoulder. "We're really doing this," Elena confirmed. They pulled back enough to kiss, slow and sweet and full of promise. Not an ending, not even a beginning, really. Just a continuation of something that had started decades ago and had never truly stopped, even when they'd tried to force it to. "Come on," Elena said, taking Sarah's hand. "Let's go home." And Sarah, for the first time in 23 years, knew exactly what that word meant. Sarah and Elena's story reminds us that it's never too late to choose authenticity over fear, that the paths we didn't take sometimes circle back to us, that love, real love, doesn't expire. It waits, patient and persistent, for us to finally be brave enough to claim it. Are you ready to write your own second chapter? Whether you're rekindling an old love or discovering a new one, remember, your story doesn't end just because you took a detour. Sometimes the longest journeys lead us exactly where we were always meant to be. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that second chances are real. And if you're living your own version of finding your way back to love, to yourself, to your truth, know that you're not alone. The courage to begin again is one of the most beautiful things a human can do. What will your next chapter hold?